Gen Z, I guess like 18 to 25-year-olds or whatever, are so off the charts conservative, it's like plus 20 conservative. Now, there is a big difference between men and women still, young Gen Z, but there's actually, you can split it down even closer. You can split it down between young Gen Z and old Gen Z. Now, old Gen Z, it's a little more even. Still conservative, a little bit. But it's still like a little closer to, like maybe like plus 5. But young Gen Z, which are the ones who really had it their whole lives, like they've heard it, they've been forced it their whole life, they're the ones who are plus 20 conservative. Now, still difference between men and women, that's what I want to save until tomorrow, because that's important to recognize why that's the case. But they were jammed this stuff so much. Yes, it destroyed the lives of some, horrific and horrible, but the majority of, even young people are like, this is crazy. We're rejecting whatever this movement is, and we're going to go to the conservatives team. So that's a good thing. But this went in front of the Supreme Court. So hopefully the Supreme Court can just knock this one and knock another of their idols down with this lunacy that they put on the American people and all your children, purposely, for so long. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. We will work on it all day today and make sure this doesn't happen again. Slater at Breitbart.com, Slater at Breitbart.com, Slater Radio on Twitter and Instagram. We'll do it again tomorrow. I'm Slater, Breitbart News Daily. Spread the word.
Taxes or are in debt to the IRS. This is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help you with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation. Call 800-611-8892. 800-611-8892. 800-611-8892. Optima Tax Relief. Inside my real brokerage account. Wall Street ahead this morning's opening bell. Dow futures up 719 points. Nasdaq futures ahead 544.
Free bow, yeah.
Townhall.com.
Unfortunately, he has to
Relief factor and how so many people enjoy a
bow being bow. He probably didn't react very well when he got in front of the judge the first time, or even a magistrate. Yeah, give Doc a raise. So I guess he's got to go in. He should be right now in front of the judge for a competency hearing. Tried to 5150 him. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll get the whole, at least his version of the story once he gets out. I already did a information request for the arrest report and for the body cams. At least the only one I could name was Hardman. Yeah, I know that's going to be tough for him to even if he wanted to convince them that he's competent. So nothing to really laugh about, but you know what I mean. Yeah, for sure.
That was bad for the privacy and security.
Give me a bagel. I'm breaking my morning fast this morning. I'll grab a bagel.
Israeli police have been searching the Mediterranean coast for a swimmer they fear may have been attacked by a shark. It happened in an area that has long seen close encounters between marine predators and beachgoers who sometimes seek them out. Town Hall.
Conservative voices built on freedom, powered by you.
Regarding tariffs, Trump is absolutely doing what's necessary.
Join the conversation.
Another leverage point for China, we could say, hey, why don't you lower your tariffs, or we're going to quit inventing stuff for you to steal.
There's going to be a breaking in period. People have to expect that. We knew to expect it. Change is not going to be easy.
Your voice is heard here. Sirius XM Patriot Channel 125.
The two biggest compliments I get on this program are you found this program and you spent some time listening to it. You're not just a listener, you're part of the will count majority. The other is my Democrat friend says this, what do I say back? Facts, arguments, and firepower to win the debate. I used one of your arguments and it worked. Andrew Wilkow and the Will Count Majority, weekdays 2 to 3 p.m. East on Sirius XM Patriot 125. That's one of the greatest compliments I can get.
Hey, Eggsy.
Up front tonight, the breaking news.
Get closer to what's happening right now. The Sirius XM News channels.
Battles over tariffs are still ruling markets.
From cable news to business
And so the markets need to be prepared for that and the volatility.
and international.
IDF is expanding activities in Gaza where military operations.
The Sirius XM News channels, starting at channel 112 and on the Sirius XM app. Breitbart News Saturday. Matt Boyle.
This is a place, right? This show right here, this platform, what we've built here, is something truly historic and different.
Our Saturday destination.
President Donald Trump.
You've been great, and Breitbart's been fantastic.
The chairman of the
Ooh,
Committee
shit.
cars.
Nothing like last minute fucking dumb cunt.
Breitbart News Saturday with Matt Boyle.
We are the real sheep.
Ugh.
10 a.m. to 1 p.m. East, exclusively on Sirius XM.
Yeah, it's nice today. We're supposed to get thunderstorms today, though. Supposed to be getting some thunderstorms.
The Authority. This is the David Webb Show.
I'm going to actually go back in time for a moment, and I didn't get a chance to post it this morning, but I have a really awesome picture from years ago.
Morning, LVA.
In the first administration, there was a event at Cafe Versailles, and in that dining room, a picture of myself and my in-studio guest. That was our studio for the day because we also did that. Dr. Ben Carson was there. And Linda McMahon, then administrator of the SBA, stepped into the role. And first, kudos to you and Dan and all the others. The package you put together at that time as an executive and as an administrator to work where needed, to do the things together that help the American people and the success that we saw. And something else that I've used as an example over the years since then. And I remember in the aftermath of one of the storms when power wasn't available and people couldn't start the process of applying to SBA, you sent workers with pen and paper to begin the process. Why I bring that up is because those qualities of an executive that you have in your private life and in your public service are what we need in the Department of Education. Someone who goes in, takes a look at it, assesses.
Thank you for stopping. Are you using our mobile app today? If not, go ahead when you're ready.
I gotta be honest, I'm a fan. I have been for the many years.
Hi, what can I get started for you today?
I have a mobile order VI 20 for Norm.
And what you do, and thank you so
All right,
much
Norm, go
for
ahead.
taking
We'll run to the
this
first one, please.
to become the Secretary of Education.
Well, thank you very much for that. You know, one of the pushbacks on me when I was first nominated from some was that I didn't come from the education community, therefore that I really wasn't qualified for this job. And President Trump at that point said exactly what you just said. He said, look, I need an executive in this role. I need a leader. I need someone with management experience, especially given the task that I have, which is to close down the Department of Education, but to make sure that the funding and all of that is going to the students continues and gets in its rightful place. And he really stressed with me the executive ability, and that's what he was looking for.
Well, two executives speaking to each other, I think there's a little bit of history there. So let's walk through some of the things that have been done, including the reduction in force, and what your next steps will be. So let's start with that primary step, certainly of the reduction in force, and why.
Well, it was pretty much a view that was taken, especially when Leon Musk came in, and the Doge fellows came into, into each agency to look at was there any bloat, in the workforce, etc. And there clearly is. I mean, I have done in my private life independent audits, and that's how I looked at this. This was an independent audit. It came in, took a look at the books, if you will, took a look at who was doing what, and really determined that we had excess staffing. Now, we in turn, and this was actually started before I was sworn in as the secretary, and taking a look at the personnel that was there, what their jobs were, what they were doing, and we had so many people that were working remotely.
John Denico's in the courthouse.
In the building, we didn't really know all what they were doing.
Is that a mass accountability there too?
Assessment of what was necessary. So we took our first look, and we did eliminate about half the positions.
You try and sneak a phone in to where you can record.
And so we're now.
I'd love to see Val going off on a magistrate or a judge.
Not all of them were, but those jobs were absorbed in other departments with other people taking over. No different than you would in a private company.
Right, and that's the thing. It's an approach to effectiveness, to efficiencies back in the system. And there are so many good people who have been suppressed in some form in these bureaucracies and agencies that want to do the job. And I've heard from some have called into the show, other people that I've known from prior connections that have said this is great within not just the Department of Education, but this idea that let's let good people do the job because we need a functioning government.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's painful to do that because you really are affecting people's lives. I was very pleased that, in the RIF, as it's called, there was a really solid plan. The employees that their jobs were cut got 90 days.
What's up, man?
Hey.
Sorry about that, wait. Steak just came off the grill, and the actual just came out of the vat.
All right. Yep. I'll be down the road a bit before I get to it. Thank you.
If you worked at the federal government, you got a week of full pay, up to 10 years. Then after 10 years, if you got 2 weeks for every year. So, I mean, that's quite a generous severance package. It's a soft landing, if you will, going off. We have some people who lost their jobs that have been there 25 years, so they had clearly, I think, nobody really wants to lose their job if that's where they are and that's what they're enjoying doing. But it was thoughtful. It was with benefits, to see them through kind of a tough time, and to have people on board to help them look for and get placement for other jobs as well.
I mean, look, it is a better package than most corporations in the private sector could afford to give someone who was leaving for whatever reason. And it's a reasonable approach. Many on the left say it's so heartless and cold in numbers. What you've just laid out is what's also happening in other departments and agencies to some extent. But let's go to education now. And I have Tim goes to Michael Reagan. His father tried to get rid of the Department of Education. He actually took 2,000 workers out of the workforce when he was president. But from all those years to now, and trillions of dollars later in total spend, education is not at a crossroads, it is under the tracks in this country. Literacy rates are tragic in math and science, basic math and reading. Failures in the schools exist. There are good schools, there are good public schools, there are bad public schools, but there's a systemic problem. So your approach to not just reforming the Department of Education, working yourself out of a job, but making sure that education that gets on the right track to educating that young man or woman.
Well, I can tell you what we're looking at very strongly is how do we make sure that as we wind down the Department of Education, we're making sure that it's his pathway, that we want to make sure that we're providing the states with the necessary tools that they have and best practices which have been successful in other states. Some states are already doing incredibly innovative things. We saw Louisiana, for instance, who had been really near the bottom in reading and math for years. They had the most improvement, and now they're I think they're number one in reading and math with the latest NAEP scores, which is our national report card. Now, that's innovation with the Department of Education going on in Louisiana that's not being provided by the Department of Education. I think it's important to note what the Department of Education does not do. The Department of Education doesn't educate anyone. It doesn't hire teachers. It doesn't establish curriculum. It doesn't hire school boards or superintendents. It really is to help provide funding so that the states themselves can help with their own programs. But that creativity and innovation has to come from the state level. So if we can leave them with best practices and tools to help them get where they need to be, I think that's the greatest legacy that we could leave for them.
There are other elements of the education discussion that I think are missing in the public sphere. Certainly, I know you understand this, but for everyone, education is local is best, but also it should be an assessment of what's available. Most people don't know. They live in a region or area. There are certain types of industries and jobs. There are things that education needs to sometimes fit what's available, and it's not perfect.
I want to follow up on that filing, though.
Decisions can be made to help people be sustainable, help them be successful in whatever way. In some areas, it's energy. Maybe West Texas or Pennsylvania or West Virginia, just to use those examples. Energy is a big factor. Industries that go along with that come in whatever form, not just that.
But nobody there to help them yesterday.
You go to a technology-friendly area, you go to an agricultural-friendly area. And that has to be part of this discussion, doesn't it?
Sure does. There is no one-size-fits-all for education. And that's why, I put such great stock, if you will, in our teachers. I think that teaching is one of the most noble professions that we have. But we have to allow teachers to teach. They know what's best in their classrooms. They know what fits.
I mean, I read that filing yesterday about Hardman and the other troopers getting sued. And it basically went down pretty close to the same way. except for he just denied them the ability to record. I don't think that any of them got arrested. Tom or his buddy got arrested. Yeah. And then Turtle Boy did a screenshot of him when he was stretching out, posted that on X. I followed Turtle Boy yesterday just to see if what info he had. Oh, I'm sure it did. I mean, it's all it, you know, it's the battery's gone on it, I'm sure, but that wasn't that little circle thing you were getting near the end. That wasn't his phone still being on. It just means he didn't close out the stream correctly. Yeah, Fox is following Tom CPU's case pretty close. They're the ones who posted that the filing. If you have a link to the story, Toe, send it to my phone. I'm not going to be able to spend as much time with it today. We got a big order already came in. Then after work today, I get a haircut, and then I got to go to Green Springs just to drop off a laptop. Eggsy, it's already he streamed it. It's already out there. And plus, I restreamed it. It's saved. That dumbass couldn't even figure out how to get it turned off. He does not know how to get into YouTube and delete videos from the studio. I mean, someone else may, but he was spazzing with the fucking gimbal. Yeah, I'm live. You know what that means. When am I not busy, Eggsy? Why the weekends when I don't have work to do, I truly try to enjoy as much as possible.
Education, get that back to the states, back to the localities. State education departments are part of that picture. And the relationship, whether interfered or not by the unions and the other interested parties, needs to be reset because those states should be...
That's one of the main reasons I did that restream yesterday and started it from the beginning a couple times.
Encourage parents to have a more active enrollment.
For the odd reason, in case they're able to get into his phone and actually get in the studio and delete it. I mean, I'm sure a bunch of people did it.
You know, in their children's education, because that really does make such a difference.
Pretty sure Chuck Bronson was doing it. I'm pretty sure.
The boards of education have said parents don't need to have
people were doing it.
Parents need to have a real involvement in what their children are doing, and to have an opportunity to look at those classes.
That's why he had it set up the way he did, to where the cop couldn't even turn it off.
In those children's lives.
There's a part of this that's always.
It's the stream still stayed streaming, even though he got slapped to the ground by that fucking cuck.
Talking about educating children, you have to educate the parents so they understand their responsibility, what's available to them.
And, clearly, I think that was the silver lining of COVID, because parents did for the first time see a lot of the courses and the curriculum that their students were taking, their children were taking. And so they were highly alarmed by some of it, disappointed by some of it, really impressed by some of it. I know that I stood behind my granddaughters when they were
Yeah, your
looking for courses. I think it was
your TTS popped in constantly. $2, over and over again. It was awesome.
Did not approve of, and I'm glad parents were able to have a say. And now I think it is.
Yeah, you're.
And you are seeing more parent involvement.
I didn't know he remonetized his that one channel.
Basic thing we can do.
It's the first of many conversations.
I had not even realized that he had remonetized it.
It is an absolute pleasure to have you here. I know you're here.
Yeah, $2 broke. Yeah, I'm sure.
What else is going on in Miami?
Well, today before I came here, I visited a charter school, and it was just amazing at what they're accomplishing there. I mean, they have I think 6 through 12, and they have a college so students can progress through many areas of their school. But I spent some time, and this was actually during the taping of Laura Trump's show that's going to air on Fox this Saturday. And we actually were in a robot class, and we were talking to some of the students about really cool things that they were doing. And I just was incredibly amazed.
I mean, I've been a paid subscriber on both of his channels before, but I didn't realize that he had remonetized the Smurf Watch channel.
It was just amazing, that kind of quality,
Here, let me try and pull it off there. I was just say, if you can unindoctrinated, send it to I'll be on Telegram, please. It takes hours for me to be able to pull anything off of chat. I do it right now while I'm driving, but well, I'm sure the mainstream media made it sound like somewhat different. That's what they do. They hate independent journalists. Take it as a threat. They were able to stand there and watch while he got attacked, as they stood right there at the frickin' steps of the courthouse. Thanks, unindoctrinated. I appreciate it.
Working yourself out of a job. Yes, I like that.
Thank you.
They probably don't want me to work myself out of a job. However, great to see you.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.
This is the David Webb Show. The real cow majority. Coming up right now on the David Webb Show, Ken Janelle, the national chairman of the Electric Transparency Initiative, joins me. The Senate must pass the same with their real cow majority coming up next at noon East after the David Webb Show on Sirius XM Patriot.
You heard the news. Newsmax just went public on the New York Stock Exchange and listed on the big board.
Blooms are beautiful. All the blossoms. Go, 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 go. Well, I just hope it stays kind of cool. It got pretty hot in the office yesterday. Looks like the AC is working though. Be up to 77 again today. Wow. Pretty full parking lot today. All right, I guess I'll just back into this spot here.
To spend time with this incredible audience, incredibly informed, and as we were just hearing in the last few minutes, the conversation between David Webb and, of course, obviously the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. And one of the things that's really important is to understand that this is a living, breathing sort of constitutional republic.
Yeah, he was putting it on, but that for a reason, and I think that is for maybe being able to use it for litigation later on.
Jump out and invite to the program somebody who's doing a great deal of work as it relates to.
You guys have a great day.
And things like that. He is.
Peace, guys. Everybody have a good one. I will try to go live. I'm going to watch this couple of these clips, and we'll see if we can follow up on what's going on with Buddy Bow.
So, for the purposes of audience.
Later, guys.